Alright, so I'm just gonna warn you guys ahead of time. You will probably hear and or see my toddler because he's awake, even though it's almost 10 o'clock. He took a nap with me earlier, and if he takes a nap, he doesn't go to bed till like 10 or 11. Anyway, I've been putting off doing this video just because I haven't felt like I had the energy or motivation to do it. But I finished my partial hospitalization program for the eating disorder center 2 weeks ago tomorrow, I think. Has it been that long already? I think it was 2 weeks ago, and I don't know. In some ways, I've been doing pretty well. Other ways, I've been having kind of a hard time. There he is. Because like right after I finished treatment and was at home full time again, we upped my dose of an anti-anxiety med for my OCD, and then a few days later had to raise it again. And I started to get side effects from that, and so I was like super tired, and not even just tired, but sleepy a lot of the time. Like for several days, I was just so sleepy, and I still can't really get through the day without a nap. But especially the first few days, like I felt like I was in like a brain fog, and I was so tired and just not really able to engage much with my family. And I also lost my appetite for the most part, which can be a side effect of the med. That's mostly gone. Like I still don't have as much of an appetite as I usually do, but it has been getting easier to eat. Like the first couple days after I finished treatment, I had almost no appetite, and so it's really hard to eat much of anything. But it's starting to come back. But it was like making me feel almost nauseous, and like no food sounded appealing, and I just didn't really want to eat that much, and so it was hard to get myself to eat as much as I did at the program. Like we had the 3 meals and 3 snacks in a day, and yeah, I did not get anywhere close to that. I was at like maybe 2 meals and a snack. But I've been getting better the last week or so. And I've been able to do all 3 meals and like 1 or 2 snacks. And before like my last or second to last day of the program, I sat down with my dietitian and talked about what I was going to do after the program was over, and like how I was going to keep going forward with challenge foods and not losing motivation for working on that. And when I was in the program, I had been doing I had been doing usually 2 challenge foods a day. Sometimes it ended up being more, even though we didn't really plan it that way. It was just the way they cooked the food ended up being challenging. But I decided that like once I was getting back home and getting used to being at home again and getting used to making my own food and having to do dishes and take care of the kids and whatever, I was like, all right, more than 1 challenge food a day is just going to be way too much. And so I've been sticking with 1 a day, and I was originally just going to like go with the flow and just think, what do I want to try today? And just try whatever I felt like that day. But my dietitian had me like plan out at least the first week after treatment. And I'm glad she did, because that ended up being a better plan, because I feel like it would have been harder for me to like commit to actually doing it if I didn't have it planned for each day. And I tried to like, sorry, my nose is kind of running, but I try to like, I'd go back and look at the challenge foods that I had done in like the past 3 weeks or so, because they had them all written out on the calendar, and I looked at those and tried to do some of the ones that I had already tried just because I want to keep trying them, because I tried them and got over the fear of trying them, but I still don't like them, or I still have trouble with the texture, and so I want to keep trying them so that I can hopefully like them eventually. And so I did ones that I had eaten before, mostly, and so I could keep going with that. And then I also, like, once a week I have just written on there for me to try whatever my husband's eating, because right now we don't really eat any of the same things. And so I did things like raisins and walnuts and zucchini and cucumber, which is getting easier for me, but it's still sometimes kind of a challenge. Red bell pepper, because I like the green one, but the other ones I'm not that big of a fan of. And then I'm still working on sandwiches. And so I like wrote out for a week and a half or so before I finished treatment, so I had that laid out. And then when I was getting to the end of that, I added more days so that I could keep going, because it definitely helped a lot having it planned out, so I could look and see, okay, today the challenge food is 3 raisins. Oh, that's what today was. And it went pretty well. And tomorrow is like, I don't know, I think tomorrow's ham sandwich, which is my least favorite one to try because I have a really hard time with the texture, and it's slightly gotten better, not that much. But what else have I tried? Zucchini. I tried a lentil. It was not what I expected. The texture was a lot different than I thought it would be. And I tried to, even like outside the challenge foods, because I don't tend to do them with a meal. Like I just do them on their own, just whenever in the afternoon, or sometimes evening. But with the meals, I've tried to, like, I still do a lot of the same pasta things that I usually eat, but those aren't quite as appealing to me anymore. Cause I don't know, sometimes it seems like the dairy part is too rich or whatever, and I've started to get used to eating a little bit more of a variety at the meals at the program. And so I've been trying to make sure that I eat more produce. Like sometimes the challenge food is produce, like broccoli or something, and with broccoli I actually do like it with ranch. I just hardly ever would eat it, and so it's not really a challenge food. The challenge is just getting myself to eat it, but once I'm eating it's fine. And so stuff like that, like I've been trying to do that and try to get something every day. Like one of the challenge foods that I did maybe like halfway through the program was peanut butter and apple, and that ended up being one that I actually do like, which I was surprised about, and I'm really happy about that because I hardly ever eat peanut butter and I don't eat a lot of protein, and so that's been a good way to get some protein and also some produce. And so I'll do that for snacks sometimes, or I'll eat like Teddy Grahams or Cheez-Its or plums. Lately I feel like they've been out of season because they've been really sour though, so that's been harder. But I've been trying to eat snacks in general because I was having trouble with eating for a while, but also making sure that I eat at least something each day that's healthy. I don't know if I did today, so whoops. But I've been getting a lot better at, sorry, I had hair on my tongue, at like diversifying my diet. And so that's good. It's still hard for me to eat a ton of variety, and like hard for me to eat things for meals besides pasta. But I am a lot more aware of it and a lot more intentional about doing at least one thing a day, which is good, because before I was like, yeah, I probably should eat produce, or I probably should eat more meat or whatever, but didn't really put that much effort into it, or like I'd think about it but just not do anything about it. And so now at least I'm working towards that, and I'm working towards having, like, I'm trying to make all the challenge foods things that are healthy because I already eat enough unhealthy things. And so I want the challenge foods to be things that are good for me, like walnuts, because, like, I can eat pecans and I like those a lot, but I don't, like, peanuts are okay, but I don't really eat any others. I know peanuts aren't technically nuts, but whatever. But I don't really eat other nuts, and I know those can have, like, good healthy fats and protein and stuff, which I don't get a lot of, and so I want to be able to eat those. Raisins, I don't know that they're, like, amazing for you, but it is fruit, and grapes are good for you, and I think raisins are a lot cheaper than grapes, and those would be easy to take with me versus grapes that are a little harder and they go bad faster. The raisins have been getting better. The texture still kind of weirds me out, but the taste is getting better. And I did, hi Jude, I did used to like them sometimes when I was a kid. Like, I always had kind of an on and off again relationship with raisins, and then it was off for like over a decade. But I did like them at some point. And so, like, the taste I'm getting used to and starting to like. The texture is still a little weird, and I ate 3 raisins today. The first 2 weren't that hard. The third one was a little harder. So I wouldn't be able to eat like a handful of them anytime soon, but I can eat a couple, and I could eat like a couple raisins and some pecans, and that would be a good snack. And I tried a frozen blueberry the other day. Honestly, I don't really know why people like blueberries so much. I like them in smoothies a lot, but when I've tried like a fresh blueberry on its own and a frozen blueberry on its own, I wasn't impressed either way. Like, they weren't really that sweet. They didn't have a lot of flavor. I didn't really like the texture. I don't know. I don't understand. My kids eat blueberries literally every day. Usually twice a day. But I don't get it. But I know they're really good for you. Berries are like, pretty much all berries are like amazing for you. They're like the best fruits because of antioxidants, and they, like, I think strawberries especially help like keep your blood sugar from spiking if you eat sugary stuff. Other like than the strawberries, like, it helps keep your blood sugar more regulated. And so they're really good for you. And I can eat strawberries, and I put blueberries and strawberries in smoothies when I make those, so that's good, because then I'm able to get those. Even though I don't like blueberries on their own, I'm still able to eat a decent amount of them because of the smoothies. And they also, the smoothies also allow me to have yogurt, which I don't like, spinach. Sometimes I'll put cauliflower in there because it doesn't really change the flavor, and I guess cauliflower is good for you. I haven't read about it, but and so then I'm able to put several things in there. Like, literally the only things that I put in the smoothie that I would eat outside of the smoothie are strawberries, and I also put orange juice concentrate, and I drink orange juice sometimes. So so those are the only 2 things. Everything else that I put in the smoothie is stuff that I normally wouldn't eat, which is good because then I'm able to still eat it, and it's all raw, and so it didn't lose any of the nutrients from being cooked, and so that's really good. And I've been doing smoothies more lately so that I can get more produce and get the what's it called, whatever, from the yogurt, probiotics from the yogurt, and vitamin A and I think K from spinach. I don't know, but lots of good stuff in there. And so I've been slowly working towards incorporating more produce and stuff into my diet, and I don't always remember to do it every day, but I try to do it at least once a day, and I'm definitely a lot more conscious of trying that and not just thinking about it, but thinking about it and then doing something about it, which is definitely farther than I was going before. So that's good. I still don't feel like I'm that healthy of an eater. I have gotten better at doing smaller portions though, because when I was at the eating program, a lot of the portions of stuff there was a lot smaller than I would normally do, and a lot of the time I didn't end up being able to eat very much of it anyway because it was foods that were difficult for me, so I didn't eat as much. And then I do the nutritional shake at the end, but so I got used to doing smaller portion sizes, which is good because my pasta portions before were always maybe twice as much as you're supposed to have, I guess, because I was only doing the pasta dish by itself, so that was it. So I didn't have other stuff with it, so then I was doing like double portion basically. And so I've gotten better at doing smaller portions, but there's sometimes that I forget and then I give myself close to the same portion that I would have had before the eating program, and then I have trouble with like eating too much of it, and then I feel like way too full, like uncomfortably full. And so I need to get better at making the portion sizes smaller consistently. But that's good because then it'll help me get fewer carbs, so then I have more space, I guess, for like meat or some kind of protein and produce. So that's good, because before I was just filling up on carbs and dairy, and that was about it, and that gets some of the nutrients but not everything. And so this way there will be room for that. With my OCD, I haven't started meeting with a therapist outside of the eating program yet, because I found one who seems like he'll be really good, but he didn't have anything available until like mid-July, but I'm gonna be out of town that week, and so we scheduled something for a few days after I get back. And so I haven't been working with anybody, but I am still on the anti-anxiety med that I started in the eating program, and we got my dose up to like the minimum threshold that they tend to do for OCD. Like usually they do 100 to 200 milligrams for OCD specifically. Sorry, my daughter came in and interrupted. The medicine that I'm taking can be used for depression, but it's apparently a much lower dose. And the dose for OCD is usually 100 to 200 milligrams, and right now I'm at 100. And it seems like it's making a difference. It's hard to tell if it's the medicine itself that's doing anything, or if it's just like a bit of a change of perspective that I've gotten from the therapy. But I have had an easier time with not letting myself do all of the behaviors. I don't remember if I mentioned any in the other videos, but counting stuff a lot, turning lights on and off a certain number of times, opening and closing things, stepping on certain spots or lines on the floor. I don't know, other stuff like that. Usually it's contained within those categories. And so I've gotten better. It's like sometimes I still do some of those things just because it's a habit and I don't really think about it. And so I'll just flick the light on and off. And then I'm like, oh wait, I'm not supposed to be doing this. And then I just don't do it as many times as I normally would have. And so sometimes I'll start doing it and then catch myself and stop. Other times I'll start doing it and I think about it and then I still do it anyway because it feels like I can't not do it. But then other times I just turn the light off and I'm like, all right, that's fine. And then just leave the room and close the door once and don't do anything else with it. And I've gotten better at not looking at the floor when I'm walking, or if I do, like I'll only step on like one spot instead of like 4 or 8 or whatever. So I do, like, I'm still doing most of the behaviors, but I've at least been able to reduce them. And so I'm not doing something 8 times or 16 times. I'm doing it like maybe once or twice. And so even though I'm still doing it, it's definitely decreasing, and which is good because it's saving the amount of time that I'd be spending on doing all these things that many times. And so I haven't started on any of the things that are like more closely tied to like my fear of losing people, because those I'm gonna wait until I actually have a therapist to work with on that stuff so that I can talk through the anxiety that comes with that. But right now I'm working on the smaller things that I don't really necessarily always feel that much anxiety about, or I don't really associate it with that fear per se. Like most of the time when I'm doing the behaviors, I'm not thinking, oh well, I need to do this so that my kids don't die or whatever. It's mostly that I'm thinking, okay, I need to do this, then I just do it, and then I don't really think beyond that. But if I like try to stop myself from doing it, then usually I'd think, okay, no, you have to do this or something's gonna happen. And so usually I wouldn't even think about the stuff that makes me feel anxious unless I was thinking, okay, maybe I won't do it this time. And then my OCD was like, nope, you will do it. And so some of the things that I do, like I was like counting things and whatever, I wasn't necessarily associating that like with my anxiety. And so those things are easier to work on because they aren't so stressful. And I can focus on just the behavior and not the consequences, that the perceived consequences that some of the other behaviors have. And so I can focus on, okay, I'll just turn the light off and leave it, or I'll turn it off and back on one time instead of like 4 times. I won't turn the water off and back on, I'll just turn it off and then it's fine. Stuff like that. And so it's probably wearing out all my appliances and stuff a lot less than I normally would. I've also been working on using a little bit less soap, which like right now during all the coronavirus stuff, it's probably not really that concerning for most people if they have a bit of germophobia going on, but like the amount of soap that I use normally is pretty excessive. And so I've been trying to cut it down but still use enough that it's like killing germs and actually cleaning my hands, but not going through our soap so fast. I've still been having trouble with that with like the bathroom soap because it's a foam one and not a lot comes out at once, but the one in the kitchen is like a thicker, more kind of gel-like soap, I guess. And so it's easier for me to do less of that one. But overall I've been doing better, and I've just been struggling a lot with like being really tired mentally and physically. I think partly side effect from the anti-anxiety meds, partly because I also have rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune form of arthritis, and that's been worse the last couple weeks, and so that's been making me really tired, and then my joints hurt and stuff. So I've just been exhausted for the last month and a half, but especially the last week or two. And so that part has been the main struggle. Like I've been doing okay food-wise, it's been getting better, and I've been very intentional about keeping up with my challenge food each day. I haven't missed any days since I finished the program, which is good. I've been getting better at working on the OCD stuff. I've been really good about making sure I take all my meds every day for the OCD and for the arthritis, and I also take some supplements that are for the arthritis and some to prevent migraines and stuff, and so I've been good at keeping up with those. And so overall I'm doing pretty well. And I'm gonna keep updating you guys. It might be a while before I do another video just because I'll be busy and it takes a long time to do it because my videos end up being like 20 minutes long. But we stop. Yeah, so I'll probably do an update in like a couple weeks maybe, or month, and see how I'm doing with the challenge foods, and update you guys on whether I'm like starting to actually like any of them, or at least tolerate them enough to eat more than like a bite or two. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment and I will answer them. Thanks.